So welcome. We're really excited to start Sembrando Salud 2022. We have done this previously last year as an online workshop space, and we're hopeful that we will have even more success for our growers. We've got even more folks who have signed up to participate this year. So all signs are pointing to a really good growing season together. So this is workshop number 1, and we'll go into a little bit more of the schedule of workshops that you can anticipate and important dates and stuff like that later in today's workshop. So again, just welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you all here. I want to just make a quick note. You can see our little agenda of what is going to happen today. But also I think it's important to just point out that pretty much all of the images that you'll see of gardens and plants and stuff in today's presentation were actually shared by last year's participants. And that's, one of the things that we really want to encourage you to do is join and sign up on our Facebook group so that you can, share your success and your photos, and also get tips from Emma and the staff, and just share with the other growers around New Mexico who are also participating in Sembrando Salud. So we're going to start things off with a little bit of an introduction from each of us, and introduction about the Center of Southwest Culture. After that, we'll go over the supplies that you can expect to receive as registrants. And then we'll do some how-to kind of information for the first steps of setting up your garden using the supplies that you'll get. So we'll talk a little bit about planning your gardening space. We'll talk a little bit about how to set up the drip irrigation line that you'll receive, and then also how to plan your garden space for optimum growth and for your plant health. And then we'll get into more of the logistics of getting supplies to people, and when you can expect to see those things. So I think I'll open it up for our staff here to come forward and introduce yourself, and then we can get started.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Emma Dewey, and I am the Farming and Gardening Manager at the Center of Southwest Culture.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Manuel Castro Lopez. I'm a program coordinator for Sembrando Salud and the Códice program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yolanda Yoli, and I'm the project manager for Códice. I'm pretty new to the team, so I'm excited for my first workshop with everyone.
Thank you all. And hello, Keshi, Makua. My name is Cateri Zuni. I'm from Isla de Pueblo and Zuni Pueblo, and I'm the Associate Director of the Center of Southwest Culture. And I am just really excited to have everybody join us today.
Join? Yeah, if I join with let's sign in or sign. I don't know. Why is not giving you the link? I don't get it.
Cateri, you're muted.
Sorry. I'm going to start with a little overview of the center and some of the programming that we have that is given in tandem with, I guess, our Sembrando Salud program. So CSC, or the Center of Southwest Culture, has been established and growing for over 30 years. And our mission is really to provide programming and support to build healthy Indigenous and Mexicano and Chicano and POC families here in New Mexico. And we do that through cultural work and education, and also technical assistance. And we use as much as possible methods and practices that reflect the cultures around us, so that we can build our communities towards a healthier future using the resources that we already have. And so Sembrando Salud is one of those programs that you're joining today. Primarily, it focuses on creating and maintaining your backyard garden spaces, and also providing cooking and nutrition instruction after you've gone through the growing process or the growing season. The sister program to Sembrando Salud is our Códice program, which is a community development center where we provide technical assistance and support to local farmers. And we also are entering programming to provide and build cultural tourism programs throughout New Mexico. We also run a youth-centered program called Story Writers, which provides STEAM and cultural education. It's a bicycle-based kind of outdoor program where young people also get, much needed exercise. They get to spend time on the bosque or in the natural area and learn about, the land around them. So those are our main programs. We also provide fiscal sponsorship to community organizations as well. So just to go over a little bit for folks who are joining new to us this year, Sembrando Salud is a program that started out of a recognized need for our communities to regain a certain amount of agency over our own food and nutrition. So it's designed to improve nutrition access in Indigenous and Mexicano and Chicano and families of color in and around New Mexico, in tribal areas, in the greater Albuquerque area, up and down the Rio Grande Valley. And we're growing this program to move into southern New Mexico and northern New Mexico as well. So we're always excited to have participants from many communities join us. We want to encourage our families and our communities to start and get back to growing our own food in our own homes and in our own spaces, however that may be. So whether you're growing in a backyard garden with lots of space, whether you have your own field, or if you're growing in an apartment and you're just, have limited balcony space or a doorstep, we will encourage folks to participate. So you can expect to have online workshops. You can always rely on the technical assistance of our staff, whether it be through email, our social media channels, or asking questions during our workshops. We want to be available to you in as many ways as possible to make the growing process easier and more engaged for everybody. Later in the season, as I mentioned, after you've had your chance to get your hands dirty, so to speak, and see some growth, we'll start with implementing our cooking courses. And this year we also have some additional nutrition information that we are excited to share with everybody, so that you have lots of resources available to you to keep your nutrition healthy and happy in your homes. So I think with that, we can kind of do a little switch over, and I'll hand it over to our trainers to get started on the supplies you can expect, and then also the topics for today.
So the supplies that you'll be getting for the program are going to include drip irrigation. So we'll provide a 20-foot section of poly irrigation tubing. You'll receive some emitters to plug into the tubing that'll emit the water, a little punch tool for punching the holes for the emitters, and your end caps, as well as some landscaping staples to keep it secure. We're also going to be giving you a little bit of soil to help you get started, as well as an assortment of organic seeds that are all acclimated for the New Mexico weather, as well as a guidebook that has been put together by the staff at Center of Southwest Culture.
And just to check in, do we have any questions so far that we can discuss either about CSC, our programming, or Sembrando Salud as a program? And I can't see folks, so I'm gonna take that as a no, and I'm gonna go ahead and push forward.
Awesome. So for those of you who were here last year for our program, a lot of this is going to sound really familiar. For those of you who are new, this is just going to be a quick and dirty, pun intended, explanation of how to get started with your garden. And then in the future, for our upcoming workshops, we'll get way more in depth on some of the topics that we'll be discussing today. So firstly, when you're planning your garden, the first thing you want to do is to consider how much space that you have. And keep in mind that a garden can be grown anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're just growing in a couple of little pots, or if you have, 100 square foot gardening space. Anything in between, you can grow anywhere. Regardless of where you're growing, though, it's really important to plan it out first and measure your garden space and draw it out on a piece of paper so that you know exactly where things are going to go, to make sure that you're not overcrowding things or that you're not allowing too much space for weeds to come up. So one of the easiest ways that we do this is through square foot layouts. And you can do this by making a string grid, just tying them to the ends of your garden space so that you have it divided into a grid of individual square feet. And this way, you can plan for exactly how much space each plant that you're planting is going to need for it to expand to its fullest potential. This also helps you increase the diversity in your garden space so that you can create a cover for soil that helps to block weeds. It helps to keep the soil cool so that it retains moisture, regulates the temperature, and will ultimately help increase your production and attract beneficial insects like pollinators.
All right. Drip irrigation, setup and calculating water needs. All right. So in this project, we're going to be actually handing out some supplies that you'll need to get started for your garden. We're going to give out poly irrigation tubing, hole punchers, water emitters, end caps. So when the water's running, it has a place where to stop, and the cap that goes into the hose. So the provided emitters are adjustable and will each deliver up to 5 gallons of water per hour. We're going to be using a total of 20 emitters in a 20-foot line. So your drip system could deliver up to 100 gallons of water per hour. That sounds excessive, but we could adjust it and regulate it so you don't have to waste as much water. So this drip irrigation line and emitters that you'll receive are designed to be reused for 15 years. And that's, most of the tubing, if we take care of it, and the sun will probably do you in for the emitters, but we have more than enough to give out this year. All right, so these emitters need a minimum of 10 to 25 pounds per square inch of pressure. If it's not between those two, the water pressure does not operate well. If the PSI is less than 10, oh, that's me on the video, FYI. The water will be uneven. If it's higher than 25 PSI, then the emitters inside the tube might just be ejected out. And then most municipal water pressure is within 30 to 70. So there is ways to regulate that. Maybe not opening the faucet all the way and just letting it, keeping an eye on it, making sure that the water pressure is strong enough where it's all the emitters are being used, but none of them are getting ejected. All right, a private well typically ranges between 40 to 60, which is way too high than what we would need. If you're using an underground water storage tank, you can use a submersive pump. So we don't include that, but you could use a submersive pump just to try to regulate the pressure. And then as you're seeing in the videos, we have a video out there on YouTube that will show you step by step how to install a drip irrigation line. Okay, if using an above ground water catchment system like a rain barrel, it needs to be elevated at least at it needs to be elevated, and the way to calculate it is that it has to be 2 feet above ground, and by every 2 feet you'll get a one psi of pressure. So it has to be at least 23 feet high enough so the pressure could be regulated, unless you have some sort of pump running through it where the water could be regulated and have enough pressure so all your emitters they'll be running smoothly. Okay, what are your needs? A New Mexico garden needs at least 2 inches of water per week. It takes 1.246 gallons of water to soak 1 square foot of 2 inches of water. Based on the math, a 100 square foot garden will need 125 gallons of water per week, either with rain or watering. So you may know this by now, but we don't get much rain, so it will definitely be through watering. And there is a formula on how to make sure, because I know not everybody's working with 100 square foot gardens. Some of us are working with much less. Some folks are working with more. Next slide, please. So this is the formula. So how many square feet are you gardening? You'll put how much are going to be gardening there. So that'll be A times the amount of gallons of water needed per week. So A times 1.25, that will give you B. You'll divide that by 1.67, which would be the minutes per week it will take to water your space if your emitters are set to the highest setting. And then you divide that by 0.33, which will give you the amount of minutes per week it will take to water the space your emitters are. Oh, okay. So if you put the emitters to the highest, you'll divide that by 1.67. But if you have your emitters on the lowest setting, you'll divide that by 0.33. And so this formula here, you could either take a picture right now, or we'll also include the same formula in the booklet. And we're going to do a couple of posts on Facebook and Instagram to show how this formula might work for your gardening space. So divide minutes per week by 60 to find out how many hours per week you'll need to water, and divide that number by at least 2 times a week to find out how long to water each time. So yeah, this is a pretty handy tool formula to know how much you'll need to water. Next slide. All right, spread your watering out at least 2 times a week. So in summer, when temperatures reach 100 degrees or higher, your soil will not dry out. So we want to make sure to, especially if we're in the city, water whenever we're told to water, which would be either in the night or really early in the mornings. If you notice that your soil is drying out between watering, consider increasing the number of times per week that you water, or watering an extra half per week, or divide, water it, half a week. So once a Monday and then a Friday. So it's best to water early in the morning or late in the evening, especially because we gotta, make sure we're following the rules that the city provides, or within 1 to 2 hours of the sun rising or setting. If your schedule conflicts with one of those times a day, and if you often forget to water, you might try an outdoor hoser timer to automatically control what time and how long and how often to water. So those automatic control setters, there's some that are not too expensive. I want to say they're around $30, the cheaper end. And those are actually very helpful, especially for people like yourselves who are extremely busy and or like me that tend to forget a lot of things. So next page, please. All right, so that was a lot of information, and I would like to see if anyone has any questions regarding the drip irrigation. And you can put it on the chat, or you can unmute yourself, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
All right, cool, go for it.
Yeah, so this drip system, the hoses and stuff, do they go under the ground or you leave them on top?
So you could do both. You could decide to put it under the ground, not too deep, depending on how much pressure you're running through your hose. Or you could also, because they are pretty resilient and they're made to have the sun hitting them all day, you could also put them on top, depending on if you want to see, if you want to make sure that the emitters are emitting water and that none of them are popping out, or maybe you have a calculated system, so you're sure they're not going to pop out, and you just turn it on, and you could put them, put them underground, maybe not too deep though, maximum 6 inches or so, because you don't want to put too much pressure on it either.
Now, when the emitter pops out, what do you do?
So for the most part, the emitter, you'll be able to pop it back in. Because it most likely wasn't in correctly. It wasn't the emitter wasn't in the line fully. It was just like sort of, halfway. So when you're installing them, you'll hear like a popping sound, that it's fully in. So yeah, if it pops out, you can always pop it back in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add on to that question too, for how much to cover this drip line. This type of drip line is a little bit different from drip tape, which is typically the kind of drip irrigation that you would bury underground. But because of the style of the emitters that we're using, it's probably best not to cover these ones. It's going to be really easy for them to get blocked. But that said, if you just cover them with like mulch or something that's light that will just kind of protect them from the sun, that would be the best thing, rather than actually putting them under the dirt.
So it would be okay to, like, how you have to put plastic down usually so you don't have any weeds. And so would it be okay to have those under that and then just put the, like the cedar mulch on top of that?
I think the only thing that you'd want to maybe be conscious of is that the emitters themselves, you probably just don't want to cover. So if you're going to use the plastic, you can feel where the emitters are, because they'll stick out quite a bit. So maybe just punch like a little hole in the plastic so that the emitter can pop out. Yeah, because these drip lines, like I said, it's easy for them to get clogged with dirt. So even if you're covering with plastic, it could bury them enough or put them closer to the ground that if there's any kind of splash or anything like that, that it might clog your little holes in the emitter. I think it's probably just better if you just plan to use it on top.
And may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I was gonna do like little mounds. I have a row, and so there's gonna be like a little irrigation canal on the side, on each side, and then the mound. Where would it be recommended to lay the drip line then? On the mound or in the irrigation canals on the side, which would be lower?
So for these ones, if you're doing a mound, it's going to be best to put the drip line directly on top because it's going to drip slowly enough that you're going to want it to kind of have that gravity to pull it down to where the roots are. If you have it in the irrigation canal, it's not going to emit water fast enough to be able to get down to that level, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
I had a question. I think at the beginning I saw that it said that they last about 15 years, the drip line. So is there like maintenance, or do we have to like store them, or is there anything that we need to do to maintain them?
So one of the best things that you could do is just during the growing season, just when it gets super hot outside and the sun is really intense, to just kind of put a layer of some kind of mulch over the line. And that's just going to kind of help protect it from degrading from the sun. And then the drip emitters, they're going to be a lot more fragile than the actual line that you're working with. So same kind of thing, if you can just use like a little bit of straw or something that's lightweight to cover them a little bit, that'll help prolong their use. But they're also really, really inexpensive. So if they do end up degrading in the sun, the drip emitters, they're easily replaceable. I think you can get a bag of like 100 of them for less than $7. So if that does happen and they break down, you can always just replace them and pop them back into the same hole.
Thank you.
And then let's say you do get some dirt inside the line. The best way to like get rid of that dirt would be on the end cap of your line. There's going to be a twist off. You could twist it off, run some water through it, and then the dirt would just pop off, because it is very easy to get dirt, like Emma said, in the emitters. And the best way to get rid of it, other than like try to poke in the little hole, is to run some clean water from the inside.
I have a question.
Okay.
So if you have run that line in like several different plants, and each one of those emitters, what if you decide that you pulled up one plant that you had? Is there a cap to put on those emitters so that you don't have to redo the whole line?
Yes. So we actually don't provide those, but like Emma said, those are very, very affordable. There is, they look about the same, except they don't have the hole. You just pop off the old emitter and plug it in.
Okay.
And then all questions are good, but do you folks have any other questions? Oh, and then, so even though we are giving like a straight 20-foot line, there is other fittings that you could purchase to make, a T or any sort of other connections, in case folks are not, running straight lines, but have like boxes of stuff, and it doesn't quite like bend the way you want it to. They also sell T's and elbows and stuff that you can connect to your line and make it fit to your necessities. I think we're going to move on, but there is definitely more space to ask more questions. But for now, we're going to move on to the next section. Thank you, though. Very good questions.
Awesome. So getting into the next section of our workshop, companion planting is one of the best ways that you can maximize your gardening space. So as you're planning your garden, you're using your square foot gardening technique to decide how much space plants need. It's also good to consider which plants grow well together and which ones might not grow well together. And that's what we call companion planting. The reason it's important is because there are some plants like marigolds, for example. They are a plant that naturally repels different pests like aphids, some types of caterpillars, different things like that. So they would be a really awesome companion for something like tomatoes to help keep your tomato plants healthy. But if you're planting something like cabbage next to your tomatoes, cabbage is kind of notorious for attracting different bad bugs. They usually attract lots of different kinds of worms, beetles, all kinds of stuff. So you wouldn't want to plant that next to tomatoes. It would probably be better being planted next to something else like broccoli, something that's in the same family, or next to something like marigolds. So this is an example, kind of a grid layout of square feet for where you might position your different plants. So it's kind of color coded. Carrots, you can see you can plant about 16 seeds per square foot. So you want to give them about 2 to 3 inches apart so they have as much space as possible to get big. Green chili, jalapenos, let's see, and tomatoes. Those are all plants that will fit within 1 square foot. So for those ones, you would want to just plant 1 plant per foot. Something like summer squash, those are going to be enormous plants. Those ones, you want to make sure that you give them about 4 square feet to get big. And that way you're not pushing other plants out of the way and making them not grow good. And then with the color coding that's on this little example here, you can kind of see how we've laid out some of the different companion plants that work well together. And for details on this, for all of the seeds that you're receiving through the program, it's all going to be included in the guidebook that you receive. So for each different variety of seeds that you receive, it'll tell you what plants are good to plant next to it and which plants you wouldn't want to plant close to it.
Go ahead and do a really quick run through of the schedule of supplies, keeping in mind that a few of these are still tentative and would possibly either change the location within the area or the times. And so I'll make sure that that we get the most updated information to everybody as soon as possible. But supplies are going to start this Friday, April 22nd, which is actually Earth Day. We've tried to designate for the Albuquerque area the most, or one of the most, kind of centrally located park spaces. So we identified Roosevelt Park, which is at 500 Spruce Street, for folks to come and pick up your supplies there. We're going to be out there between about 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. And yeah, so you can come, make sure that you're just prepared to have either your trunk or your back seat ready with maybe a towel or something, because we will be giving you your bag of soil, and so that can get kind of messy if you're not prepared for it. And then we'll also have the other supplies there for you. Earth Day is actually a really important day for CSC and the Center of Southwest Culture, because our founding director, Arturo Sandoval, was actually one of the original organizers of Earth Day. So if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you'll see some of the cool things that we're doing to celebrate that this coming week. But yeah, please come out, and if you're in the Albuquerque area, this is your pickup location. We will have another pickup that I'll show you in just a moment. That's at the South Valley Academy High School. But that's, you know, that's a little bit of a longer wait. So if you want to grab your stuff sooner than later, this will be where you can come. Next day, on Saturday, April 23rd, our team will actually be going down to Silver City. So we're working with a local community organizer to find a good kind of central location that we can use as our supply drop area. But we anticipate that will start at approximately 11 a.m. And we'll be out there until about 1 p.m. So if you're joining from Silver City, in and around Grant County, those towns out there, this is going to be the location that you're going to want to plan to be at. We'll also make sure, if for whatever reason you can't make that date, to leave behind a few sets with our local recruiter contact person, so that you can still get it in the following days if need be. The other place that will be on Saturday, April 23rd is out in Jemez Pueblo, at the Jemez Library between 10 a.m. and about 12 to 12:30. And the address is there, but I mean, if you live in Jemez, you know where the library is. But Jose will be out there and giving out supplies for folks who are registered out in Jemez. And we can also be contacted for any of these sites. I'll just mention, if you want to maybe pick up at a location that you're closer to on the day, that's totally fine. Just let us know so we can make sure we have your amount counted. In the chat, yes, we're gonna have a Zuni drop. So this next one on Tuesday, the 26th is entirely tentative, but I'm hopeful that if any of the participants who may join from Tahajli area, this will likely be the day that supplies will be made available to you. And I would just need to settle on a good location with some of the folks I'm speaking to locally. And also, I'm estimating that time might be most helpful and easiest for community members to grab their stuff. Also kind of tentative are my dates and times here set for the Laguna Acoma area. I also have a local person that I'm working with to ensure a good central location, good times and places. But at the moment, I anticipate that Friday the 29th, for anybody joining from the Laguna Acoma area can go and pick up their supplies on this day. Very next day would be Zuni Pueblo. I'll be out there, same place as last time. So I'll be out at the Zuni Fairgrounds on Saturday, April 30th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Should anything change in terms of, I don't think there's any restriction on that space on those dates, but if there are, again, I'll make sure to inform everybody with as much time as possible. Luckily with Zuni, I tend to spend the night when I do those drops. So if for whatever reason I miss you on Saturday, I could probably get you on Sunday morning, the following day before I leave. Moving down to Isleta, Los Lunas, Belen area, Bosque Farms, on Monday, May 2nd. We anticipate our distribution spot to be the Isleta Recreation Center from about 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And hopefully that gives people time to get down there after work or school. The rec center is tentative. We just need to confirm with them, but more than likely that's where it will be. That's where I set up last year. And yeah. And the next day is maybe our most tentative date, because I'm not terribly certain how many folks from any of the northern New Mexico pueblos or towns are are scheduled or will be registered. So that's going to be a big tentative date. If you are in northern New Mexico areas or in the northern pueblos, please reach out to me at either info@centerofsouthwestculture.org or catering, KATERI @centerofsouthwestculture.org, so that I can get a better idea of who's out there and figure out a good spot and time. And then finally, as I was mentioning, at South Valley Academy on Wednesday, May 11th, at the Dragon Garden area, which is located on school, is where some South Valley Academy students and interns work with CSC regularly. They're responsible for a lot of the social media posts and stuff that you see, as well as a lot of the Spanish language translations that we do for our videos and stuff. But one of the components of their work with CSC is that they're also going to be implementing just like some Sembrando Salud workshop for their fellow students in that garden area. And so that is another place that we've identified on Wednesday, May 11th, that folks can still drop in and grab their supplies between about 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. at the school there. And so those are the dates that we have right now, excuse me, for supplies. As more folks start to join though, and as more folks in different regions start to join, we will likely tack on some more places and days that you can pick up your supplies. And if you should miss your most central day or the day that you have designated for any reason, also just contact us and we'll figure out how to get those to you. And then tools that can be borrowed, like a shovel or a pitchfork. I don't believe that we have tools like that available, and I don't know that our I don't know that Codice has any of the tools that are like that we can loan. So I'm sorry about that. And finally, so we can wrap up, because I know we're just about past our time frame, but we anticipate that our next workshop will be on Saturday, May 14th. Same times, so 11 a.m. for English and 1 p.m. for Spanish. We're going to go much deeper in depth with planting and the composting process, and also a little bit of the soil health principles that Emma usually works with our Codice farmers to train in. So we really hope that you guys can join us then. Zoom links, passwords, all of that will be emailed to you just like these ones were. Also, like, we really encourage you to join us on our Facebook page, our Facebook group. It's just called Sembrando Salud 2022. It's going to ask you to request to join. I'll make sure to do that. But here at the bottom of the screen is also the other ways that anybody can contact us. That's our email at the top, info at Center of Southwest Culture. This is our main phone number. We are at Center of Southwest Culture on all of our social media. And again, there's that Facebook group. And I didn't mention it, but actually, we have a little hashtag that we usually use. It's just hashtag Let's Get Growing or hashtag Grow Your Own. So yeah, please engage with us in that way. It's a great way to also get to know the other growers that are around New Mexico. Again, please feel free to contact us, and we're gonna just be hitting the ground running to get supplies out to people throughout the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to seeing any of you in all of the areas that we're going to drop. And yeah, just please keep engaged with us, and we'll try to make the program as responsive as we can. And I look forward to a really good growing season with everybody.